Those of us lucky enough to own a horse or pony will already be aware of how dependent he is on us. Unlike a dog or cat, he cannot be allowed to run free. He cannot seek his own food, water or shelter. It is therefore our responsibility to look after his needs. We should aim to do this efficiently and economically. Proper care of the horse will enable him to do his best for us, and avoiding accidents will reduce vet bills. Although there are many different ways of achieving the same goal, the sound and well-tested methods that we will show you are taught because they are the safest for you and the best for the welfare of your horse. In this programme, we'll be taking a look at how we can keep our horse in the best possible state of health. We'll also be looking at the different types of condition and how to get the horse fit to perform strenuous work. Whether we are looking after a hardy native pony accustomed to being out all the year round or a big thoroughbred, we should always strive for the highest attainable standards in all areas of stable management and horse care. Pride in our animal should extend to the pride in the place where we keep him. Following simple guidelines will ensure that he is not only healthy but safe from harm. Let's look first at the field. All horses benefit from some time spent turned out at grass. Whether we intend to keep him turned out all the time or turn out our stabled horse for a few hours each day, we must think carefully about where he is to be turned out. The horse's safety and health are at risk if we ignore some fundamental rules. The paddock should be securely fenced around its entire perimeter. Although horses are often found living with other animals such as sheep or cows, the fencing of the land for use by horses and ponies differs to that needed for other stock. The danger of a horse injuring itself is greater, and there is always the possibility that he will jump over the fence and out of the field. Hedges, providing they are tough and well maintained, are very effective and have the added advantage of providing shelter from bad weather. In some parts of the country, stone walls are used to enclose land. Again, providing they are of suitable height and strength and are well maintained, these are excellent for horses. Post and rail fencing made from either wood or heavy-duty plastic is very effective. So too is electric fencing, which has the added advantage of being easily erected and dismantled for use elsewhere. If using plain wire, tie pieces of colourful material or plastic at regular intervals along its length so that it can be clearly seen. Electric fencing can be either tape or wire. Tape is preferable, the wider the better, as it is more easily seen by the horse. Having once had a shock from an electric fence, the horse soon learns to respect it. All wire fencing is potentially hazardous and should certainly not be used to separate grazing horses. Not all horses immediately make friends with their neighbours, and if they kick and strike out through the fence, can injure one another quite seriously. Where it is used, it should be stretched tightly between the fence posts, using 5 or 6 strands of plain wire or 3 strands of barbed wire. If possible, avoid the use of meshed fencing, such as that used to keep out pigs and sheep. Horses can easily get a foot stuck in the mesh, possibly resulting in injury. If your field does have this type of fencing, you can always run some electric fencing inside the existing fence so the horse stays away from trouble. Remember though that hedges in urban areas and close to busy roads are more likely than those found in the countryside to contain trees and plants that are poisonous to horses. In any case, always check for these, and if in doubt, seek the advice of an expert. Before turning the horse out, remove any rubbish such as broken glass, tins or wire from the field. Any of these items can cause serious injury and result in costly vet's bills. Some horses seem almost to look for accidents and will invariably find trouble if they can, especially if they're feeling fresh. When in need of shelter, horses tend to choose the natural cover provided by thick coppices or high hedges, rather than the carefully considered field shelter provided by well-meaning humans. Where the paddock offers no natural shelter, a field shelter is necessary and will be used not only in the winter, but as means of escaping from the heat and the flies in the summer. The field shelter should be positioned with its back facing the prevailing wind and with good access for the horse to go in and out. In the field there should be a trough containing a constant supply of clean fresh water. During the summer, when the grass is plentiful, native ponies can become overfat. This can lead to laminitis, a very painful condition of the feet. It is therefore most important to regulate their diet. If the horse lives out all the time, it may be necessary, especially in the winter, to supplement his diet with hay.
Make sure they're far enough apart, then. Yeah.
It is very difficult for a horse to thrive in a muddy paddock containing little or no grass. A daily visit to the paddock is essential to ensure all is well. The gate to the paddock should be strong and secure. A padlock is advisable, both to prevent innocent walkers leaving the gate open and as a way of preventing theft. A second chain or padlock secured round the heel posts may be necessary. It is only too easy to lift some gates off their hinges. Not many of us who keep a horse or pony are lucky enough to live on huge farms with acres and acres of lush grazing. And few of us will have the luxury of a machine like this for picking up the droppings. But what little grazing we do have must be looked after properly if it isn't to become sour and stripped of all its goodness. You'll find most of what you need to know about pasture management in the relevant chapter of the Pony Club manual. Be sure to read it and make the most of your precious bit of land. Many horses thrive on living out, but even so, it is a great advantage to have access to a stable so that the horse can come in at night. This is important during the winter and imperative for larger, finer types. Remember too that their convalescence after injury or illness often requires that the horse be stabled for some while. In another programme in the series, Handling and Leading, we'll look in more detail at the construction of the stable and its day-to-day management. Knowing how to look after the stabled horse is very important if he is to remain healthy and in good condition. Most of the signs of good health can be checked by eye. It should become second nature and take very little time to cast an eye over the horse and ensure that all is well. It is our own perception and observation that must be relied upon, and remember that it is the eye of the master that is the single most important fact in making sure that the horse thrives. As you get to know a horse, you will begin to notice things about his everyday behaviour. Things that are common to all horses, as well as particular habits which give your horse his own unique character. There will be times when his behaviour changes, arriving at a new yard, being turned out on fresh spring grass, in the case of mares coming into season. But if you notice a change in his behaviour when his routine hasn't altered, it is quite possible that his state of health is not what it should be. It is therefore important to know and recognise the signs of good health. They are applicable whether the horse is stabled or at grass. His eyes should be wide open and bright. He should exhibit an air of confidence and alertness. His coat should appear sleek and lie flat on his body, and when moved over the underlying bones, his skin should feel loose and supple. The horse should stand and behave normally. Resting a hind leg is quite acceptable, but if he is resting a foreleg, you should be suspicious of lameness and investigate further. Except when it is very hot, the horse should never sweat when at rest. His limbs should feel cool and be free from any swelling. When moving, he should appear sound, taking strides of equal length. Pick out the horse's feet every day, even if he is out at grass. Check his feet for any cracks or signs of thrush, and ensure that his shoes are in good condition and fitting correctly. If your horse is behaving differently and you suspect a problem, check his temperature, pulse and respiration, and if all seems okay, keep a watchful eye on him. Obviously, if all is not well, call the vet at once.
Good boy. Good boy.
His temperature should be 38 centigrade or 100.5 Fahrenheit. You need to be knowledgeable to take the horse's temperature. It is best done in the stable where you will have more control. If you have to do it in the field, do so in a corner with someone holding his head. Always beware of being kicked. It takes at least 30 seconds to get an accurate pulse rate. When the horse is resting, it should be between 36 and 42 beats per minute. Measure it by placing your fingers behind the jawbone.
Good boy.
To check the horse's breathing, stand just behind his quarters and watch as he breathes in and out. At rest, his breathing or respiration should be between 8 and 12 inhalations per minute. We can do much to ensure that the horse maintains a state of good health, but at the end of the day, much depends on our ability to notice when things aren't right. He must be fed and watered correctly, the amount of food being dependent on his size and the work required, and make sure that he eats enthusiastically and chews his food normally. Keep an eye on his droppings, which will vary in colour depending on diet, but should be passed approximately 8 times a day. Urine should be fairly thick and either colourless or pale yellow. Check the animal's teeth twice a year, worm the horse regularly, and make sure that all vaccinations are up to date. Maintaining the horse in good condition is a fundamental part of stable management. The horseman is judged by the condition of his horse. When a horse is carrying the correct amount of weight for the type of work required, as well as appearing healthy and bright-eyed, he is said to be in good condition. If a horse is well but not fit, he is said to be in soft condition. He will appear fat, although not unhealthily so, and will be incapable of sustained physical effort. Typically, an unexercised horse living at grass during the summer will be classified as being in soft condition. The horse who is both well and fit for strenuous work is said to be in hard condition. His muscles will be hard and well developed, and he will carry no excess fat. Horses that hunt regularly, or who are prepared for horse trials, are examples of horses in hard condition. It should be noted that a horse whose condition falls anywhere between these two extremes can still be in good condition, providing that the amount of work required does not exceed that for which the horse is prepared. A show jumper or dressage horse can be in excellent condition, but his work does not require that he be in the same sort of hard condition required by the steeplechaser or 3-day event horse. A horse that is in bad condition, either too fat or too thin, will be unable to work, and if asked to do so, could cause lasting damage to himself. The excessive weight carried by the horse that is too fat will make movement difficult and strenuous, with damage to the heart, the lungs, and all other internal organs being the likely result. The animal that is too thin, on the other hand, will lack the energy to work and be unable to withstand the cold. His body will not have the strength to fight infection, and in this case an appropriate diet of concentrates together with plenty of bulk feed is required. Do remember though that changes in diet must always be made gradually, and if in any doubt, always seek the advice of an expert. All horses and ponies require a plentiful supply of fresh clean water and an ample supply of good quality hay or grass. In the spring and early summer when the grass is growing, as long as the pasture is well managed, all that you need to add to the diet is salt, in the form of a lump of rock salt. All horses need salt, and in the stable you should put a salt lick where the horse can get to it whenever he wants. The basic diet can be supplemented with hard feed, such as a proprietary brand of cubes or mix. These provide additional nutrition for horses in work, as well as all necessary minerals and vitamins. An adequate and balanced diet is obviously important for all horses and ponies, but pay special attention to the needs of both the very young and the very old, both of whom require extra care.
how's your little pony today? Now what have we got to do? Vaccinate him? And he's due to have his teeth done, isn't he? And when did you last worm him?
I think about 2 months ago.
Whatever the age of your horse or pony, he should be vaccinated against influenza and tetanus. Boosters against flu are normally given once a year, and this serves as a good opportunity for the vet to check that all is well and give advice when necessary.
He's a good pony.
Problems with teeth can result in a loss of condition, as the horse may experience pain and difficulty when eating. Rasping the teeth removes any sharp edges, and if problems persist, it is possible that an awkwardly placed or painful tooth may need to be removed.
Hold the pony's head steady. And we'll slip the rasp in beside it there.
The horse's teeth continue growing throughout his lifetime and therefore need regular twice-yearly inspection if problems with eating and bitting are to be avoided.
Just have a feel of that.
One of the most common causes of poor condition is worms, so worm the horse at least 5 times a year. The best way of knowing that the horse has received the correct dose is to syringe it onto the back of the tongue. Alternatively, a greedy pony probably won't notice if you mix a powdered wormer in with his feed. When monitoring the horse's condition, make sure that regular worming is not forgotten. Every horseman should have some understanding of the horse's feet. If the foot is neglected, lameness and loss of active life may ensue. Remember, no foot, no horse. The horse's foot consists of 3 parts. The wall is the part visible when the foot is on the ground. It grows downwards like a fingernail. The sole protects the foot from injury from underneath. It is in fact rather thin for its purpose and can get punctured by stones or nails, resulting in lameness. The frog is the wedge-shaped rubbery piece found in the middle of the underside of the foot. The importance of a healthy frog cannot be overemphasized, as it plays an important role in ensuring a good foothold as well as acting as a shock absorber, being the first part of the foot to make contact with the ground. The need for the horse to wear shoes is a direct result of man asking the horse to work on hard roads and stony paths. In the wild, horses and ponies spend very little time on such surfaces, and the hoof therefore does not get broken down, worn away or damaged. Shoeing protects the wall of the hoof from this wear, but as the hoof is continually growing, the shoes must be removed and the hoof trimmed. A new set of shoes will more than likely be fitted at this stage, as work on roads or other hard surfaces causes the iron shoe to become thin and ineffective. If the shoe is only slightly worn, it is permissible for the same set to be refitted after trimming the feet. Shoeing is a skilled task and should never be attempted by an amateur. As a general rule, the shod horse will require the attention of a properly trained and registered farrier every 4 to 5 weeks. Hot shoeing is the process by which the shoe is specially made to fit the foot. Cold shoeing uses a ready-made shoe and only minor adjustments are possible. The hot shoe is held up against the hoof to see how it will fit. Adjustments are then made before the shoe is nailed into place. The preferred method is hot shoeing, which follows 6 stages. The old shoe is removed, which, if done correctly, should result in no damage to the foot. The farrier then prepares the foot for its new shoe. He trims any excess horn and uses his expertise to judge whether or not the hoof needs reshaping in any way. Any ragged parts of the sole are removed, as are any ragged parts of the frog. It is most important that these are not trimmed excessively. The third stage is the making of the new shoe, known as forging. The farrier will either use manufactured shoes, which come in a variety of shapes and sizes with nail holes already stamped in them, Or as here, he'll fashion the shoe from a strip of iron and make it exactly the right size for the horse. Stage 4 is the fitting of the shoe. It is heated in a forge before being held up to the foot. The hot iron makes a shape on the foot which indicates what adjustments are necessary to ensure a perfect fit. These adjustments are made while the iron is hot and easily shaped. Hot shoeing does not hurt the horse because only the insensitive part of the foot, the part that feels nothing, comes into contact with the hot shoe. Having matched the hot shoe to the shape of the foot, the shoe is then cooled and nailed on through the insensitive part of the hoof, using specially designed horseshoe nails. The end of the nail where it penetrates the wall is then turned over and twisted off, leaving a small piece known as a clench. The final stage is the finishing, where the clenches are made smooth with a rasp before being embedded using a clenching tool or driving hammer. Any clips are lightly tapped back into position, and the rasp is run around the outer edge of the wall where the horn and shoe meet. Depending on the type of work to be undertaken by the horse and any remedial shoeing that may be necessary, a variety of shoes are available. Your farrier will advise what is best for your horse. For a horse that has a tendency to slip, studs may be fitted into the outside heel of the hind shoe. These will either be in the form of small road studs fitted at the time of shoeing or larger competition studs that are not designed for use on the road and which should be removed after use. If their use is anticipated, the farrier must be informed, as he will need to prepare the threaded holes into which they are fitted. If all work on hard, gritty roads and flinty tracks can be avoided, it is possible for native ponies to be ridden without shoes. This obviously reduces shoeing costs, but the pony's feet must still be checked regularly by the farrier, who will tend to any necessary trimming. There's an added advantage of keeping horses or ponies unshod. If they are turned out together in the field and tend to kick out at each other, they are much less likely to injure each other if they don't have shoes on. If a horse is not to be worked for some considerable time, it is common practice and indeed beneficial for the growth of the hoof if the shoes are removed. The natural growth will need to be trimmed by the farrier, who should also regularly tend to the feet of young horses to ensure correct growth. Armed with the knowledge as to how to keep the horse in good condition, it is now time to consider the process of getting him fit. Exercise and work must be sensibly coordinated to produce a fit, trained horse. Care must, however, be taken to avoid working the horse hard, until he has reached a degree of fitness through regular, steady exercise that is slowly increased over a period of weeks. The healthy appearance of a well-maintained horse at grass should not be mistaken for fitness. Any fat seen externally relates to that which has accumulated around the heart and lungs, thus prohibiting their efficiency. He will be carrying excess weight, resulting in additional strains to his limbs. To get from this very soft condition to the fit, hard condition exemplified by racehorses, polo ponies and eventers, the horse must undergo a systematic program of exercise. As the work becomes progressively harder, so the diet must change accordingly to produce the muscle and energy required. The program will depend on the individual circumstances, the size and type of the pony, his condition and degree of fitness at the beginning of the program, the time available to the rider, and the type of work you are aiming for at the end of the program, your goal. In fact, no two fitness programs are likely to be identical. Nevertheless, the classical principles described here remain the same. Whether your aim is to prepare a horse for strenuous fast work in 14 weeks' time, or to increase the fitness of a pony for a gymkhana in 3 weeks' time. Before the work begins, check the worming program and all the inoculations are up to date. Check the horse's teeth and have them rasped if necessary. Finally, have the horse shod. this explanation will assume that our horse or pony is in good condition. The first stage of the fitting program should initially involve nothing more than walk. For the pony that was ridden regularly in the previous school holidays and has since been ridden at weekends, the walking stage to all intents and purposes will already have been completed. For the horse, begin with periods of 20 minutes, slowly increasing to 1.5 hours daily. Towards the end of this first stage, this can be supplemented by short periods of trotting up hills. If the horse has been rested for more than 3 months or has been recovering from a sprain, this walking stage should last for up to 6 weeks and be built up to 2 hours per day. The second stage is known as muscling up. The walking should be combined with equal periods of slow trotting, the exercise extending from about 1 hour for a pony to up to 2 hours daily for a horse. Short periods of trotting on the road will harden the limbs, but should not be overdone, as it can cause jarring to the feet and legs, and also wears the shoes very quickly. During this stage, some schooling on the flat can be introduced, as can slow cantering and some simple jumping. The work should then increase in the final stage to include cantering up hills, and for longer periods on the flat, until the horse is covering about half a mile in a strong canter once or twice a week. The small pony should go about half this distance. On the other days, the horse should be schooled on the flat or over fences. Once the horse or pony has reached the required fitness for what you want to do with him, he will not need as much exercise as when you were actually getting him fit. A horse living on the combined system, spending part of his day stabled and part turned out, will probably need 4 or 5 days' work each week if he is to retain his level of fitness. Ponies kept solely at grass will maintain a good degree of fitness if ridden only at the weekends and maybe once during the week. Care should, however, be taken to ensure they remain the correct weight. As we have already said, no two people and no two horses or ponies will follow exactly the same fitting program, so here are 2 examples to show how different they are. First, we'll look at a pony ridden at weekends since the last school holidays and needed for a hunter trial or pony club event in a month's time. The first stage is virtually taken care of. The second stage can be completed in about 2 weeks and will comprise walking and slow trotting interspersed with schooling, slow cantering and simple jumping. The process should be gradual, starting at 45 minutes to an hour in the first week and working up to an hour to an hour and a half. The last phase should essentially be an extension to the same program, but the canters, probably 2 per week, should be increased to 1 mile by the end of the 4th week, provided of course that all is well. For our second example, we'll take a thoroughbred type of horse who has been resting on the combined system for 3 or 4 months. To begin with, he'll need 3 to 4 weeks walking, building up from about 20 minutes to an hour and a half each day. The second stage, muscling up, will take about 6 weeks before cantering on the flat and up hills increases to a mile or so twice a week. In total, this horse will need at least 12 weeks before he is in really hard condition and ready to give his best in horse trials or other demanding competitions. Do remember that after exercise, if necessary, the horse should be sponged clean of all sweat marks and checked for any galling or sores under the saddle and girth. Whatever the breed and size of your horse, throughout the fitting program and all the time he is in work, always check that he is continuing to thrive, is not distressed by the work and stays sound. Be sure to give him 1 day of rest each week, either turned out at grass or led out in hand from the stable to stretch his legs and have a nibble of grass. Some ponies thrive best on 2 days of rest per week in their paddocks, and when his rider returns to school, the pony will seldom have difficulty in reverting to his term time program and being ridden at the weekends. However, when the horse has finished a period of very hard work, perhaps several months of competing or hunting, he will need a rest at the end of the season. Just as with fitting, the process of roughing off must be gradual and will take up to a fortnight. He won't be too pleased to be shoved out in the field in the middle of the winter and left to fend for himself. Hard hard feed should slowly be replaced with extra grazing or hay. Increase the time spent out each day. Reduce the number of rugs worn to encourage the growth of the coat. Get the farrier to remove the shoes and trim the feet. If roughing off in winter, most horses will need a New Zealand rug. Finally, simply because the horse is now turned away, make sure you don't totally ignore him. He'll obviously revert to a soft condition, but take care that he remains in good health. Keeping a horse safe, healthy and in the correct condition for the work required is a big responsibility. In this programme we have looked at the basic facilities required for keeping a horse or pony at grass. We've looked at the correct ways of checking for and maintaining good health. We've learned about condition and its importance when related to what we hope to do with our horse. We've looked at the systematic programme used to get him fit for all kinds of work and how to let him down or rough him off before a period of rest. All the points mentioned in this programme are covered in more depth in the relevant chapters of the official manual of the Pony Club, the Manual of Horsemanship, now available in its recently updated 10th edition. The quest for knowledge should always be uppermost in the horseman's mind. We can never know too much. Read as much as possible on the subject, and if in any doubt, never be frightened to ask for advice. As our knowledge increases, so too does the enjoyment of our horses, for we become more confident that we are caring for and training them to the best of our ability. They'll repay our hard work 1,000,000 times over.